Welcome to the Inside Out Money Podcast.
Can't even recognize this place. Too many pieces of our past mistakes.
Hi, I'm Maggie, and I believe real change starts from the inside out. So let's work together to improve our money and our lives from the inside out. We will explore all things money and our relationship with it. Join me each week with a rotating set of co-hosts, friends, and interviews. Let's jump in.
It's time, we going round and round and round.
Hey, Liz.
Hi, Maggie. Good morning. How are you?
I'm really great. How are you?
You look great.
Thanks. I got to start my morning off with a 45-minute call with a good friend.
There you go.
That's you, by the way.
That's me. Now we'll have another 45-minute call.
Now we'll actually record a podcast.
All of our good friends.
Yeah, all of you. But we have a special guest on today's podcast. Did you know that?
Who?
I did not tell you this in advance.
What?
And they've been waiting in the green room for 45 minutes.
Oh, okay. Who is it?
It's H.E.N.R.Y.
Oh.
I thought of that joke this morning and I was like, really? I actually wrote a Post-it because I was like, I'm going to forget this idea. It says special guest H.E.N.R.Y. I had to put it on my monitor earlier.
That's amazing. Okay, I like it.
Do you know who H.E.N.R.Y. is?
Is it Henry Kissinger?
No, but that'd be cool if we could bring people back from the dead and get them on the podcast.
Is it Henry Ford?
No, I like these famous Henrys you're bringing up.
Yeah,
though.
Henry VIII, maybe? No.
I was just Googling famous Henrys thinking like, who would I like to? I would like to have Henry David Thoreau.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we're really getting off track here. Okay. H.E.N.R.Y. is this acronym. Like, who came up with this acronym? Who comes up with this stuff?
I don't know, but I remember where I was when I learned. Okay, let's say what it is first. Henry's.
No, I'd like to know where you were when you first heard it before we tell people what it is.
I was learning about. So I was reading about how financial planners will target companies, like corporations, and say, hey, we want to come in and give like a free presentation to your employees because they're trying to find H.E.N.R.Ys, which stands for high earner, not rich yet.
Yes.
And they want to get in and be like, hey, maybe you work at this tech company, maybe you're starting to make some good money and you're not sure what to do with it. And so you should hire me at Edward Jones or whatever to manage your money for you.
I mean, it's a good target market, right? It actually is when I started looking for a financial planner in my younger days was when I was starting to make more and more money and was like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, so when we were, in today's episode, we want to talk about the concept of H.E.N.R.Y. and like being a high earner, but maybe not quite getting to the place where you know what to do with all of this new high income.
Like you might still be living paycheck to paycheck, yet you are making six figures plus.
Yeah. I think it can be, I think it's a stage like everyone goes through. Like I think, well, not everyone, obviously. Not everyone gets to the higher earner part. But I think it's a stage that everyone who ends up having a higher income goes through. I always thought of H.E.N.R.Y. as being like just early in your high earning years. But I think today we want to talk about getting over the hump of getting to a high income and then figuring out, hey, I'm earning good money. Like I felt like that when I hit 100K. I was like, wait, I'm making 100K, but I still feel kind of the same as when I was making like 30K. So like what gives?
Yeah. Okay. Well, a little history lesson because I was curious on where the term came from and who coined it.
Yep.
And this is assuming that Google AI is accurate. But the term H.E.N.R.Y. was coined by American journalist Sean Tully in 2003. That was the year after I graduated from college. That was a long time ago. But in an article he wrote for Fortune magazine, he used the term to describe individuals with high incomes from skilled jobs who lack significant assets, often due to high expenses and lifestyle inflation, and it prevented them from accumulating wealth. A lot of people equate high income or, a substantial salary with often six figures or more. It's crazy that like as we get older and older, a six-figure salary is often like less and less in certain high cost of living areas, especially.
Yeah, I know.
But it's the idea that despite that, quote, higher income, they still have little or no significant wealth or savings to show for it. Like, so their net worth still might be negative. They might still be living paycheck to paycheck. They might have really high expenses like housing. You're paying a lot more in taxes. And you've kind of let your lifestyle like creep up. So in that example you gave, Liz, you might have been spending more money as you were making $100,000 than when you were making $40,000. So it's like you don't even notice the difference between 40 grand and 100 grand if all of a sudden you're spending twice as much as you used to spend and you let your lifestyle creep up.
Yeah, I think the lifestyle creep is very real. And on the other hand, I remember being in that situation. I kind of talked about this before. Like I didn't start making like what I think of as good money, like capital G, capital M, until I was in my 30s. I think when I turned 30, I was only making $50K, which, was more then than it is now. But my point being, I hit $100K, and $100K I think is like a meaningful milestone for a lot of people, right? It's just like an extra digit. It has certainly had different values. $100K is a different value than it was rather 10, 15, 20 years ago. But it's like this. I think it's this mental milestone. I think it's like, okay, yeah, awesome. Oh my gosh, this is like this really big thing. But I think the combination of you're paying more in taxes. And for me, I felt like, I'm like, oh, I'm making all this money. I should be able to invest. Like I should be able to max out my 401k. I should be able to max out my IRA. I should be able to do that and still have money left over. And like, that was the problem, was like, once you pay the additional taxes and once you've invested more, I think it's this hard place to be. And you're like, yeah, and then I like make all this money. I should be able to, go on a nice vacation or take myself out to eat more. And you're still like, where did all our money go? Like I know I made it.
Yeah. Well, and in that case, you sounds like in that example, you were investing more, which is great.
Yeah.
But I think the situation with many Henrys, and again, if you just tuned in, that's high earner, not rich yet. And I said tune in like this is like a radio show.
Like you just
you
started
just
the podcast and skipped the first 3 minutes. You're like, they're just me chatting for the first 3 minutes. Let me fast forward.
Some people might be like, well, you guys just talked about sod and artificial turf for a while. But hey, we didn't, because I edited that out and put that at the end. So you're welcome. If you want to stick around and hear a brief teaser discussion on sod and artificial turf versus bee pollinator gardens, get ready, get excited.
We're going to do a whole episode about that. I listen to a lot of personal finance. I don't know if there's one other personal finance podcast on this planet that's done a whole episode about sod, but
grass.
We're going to be trailblazers.
And I'm going to like name it something about weed just to pull people in. Because weeds with an S are what started the whole discussion. Not weed, but weeds.
Ugh, I do not like weeds.
Back to Henry, though.
Back to Henry.
I think what is most interesting to me about the sort of demographic of Henry's, high earner, not rich yet, is that it is a really good reminder that income and wealth are not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that it is much more, we often say, and so does everybody in the financial space, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you save, right? That's one of the more important metrics. I think we have a whole episode you and I did, Liz, that is like the most important metric. And spoiler alert, it's your savings rate.
Yeah.
And, you can have a big salary, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're financially secure.
It also doesn't necessarily, this is a little bit of a tangent, but it also doesn't mean that you're financially savvy. And
that's a good way of saying it.
I feel like I see this show up all the time in just casual conversation. I was just talking to someone who was talking about the company where they work, and this person was telling me, like, oh yeah, we have a lot of people at the company, they don't make a lot of money. They're not very financially savvy. And he just said it in this way, like it goes together. And I was like, I was like so offended, because I think that there's this idea that when like people who make more money are somehow just
magically
more sophisticated.
Or more prone to be, which is not true at all.
No, not at all. And I always think about an example. I want to say this carefully. Someone I knew who made very good money who was making multiple six-figure income. And we just got, we got to chatting, as happens with, if I know anyone long enough, like eventually we just start talking about money and investing and retirement.
Getting
And
loaded.
yeah, exactly. And they weren't even maxing out their 401k. I'm not saying that like, in my mind, I guess that seems very obvious, but it seems very obvious to me as like a multiple six-figure earner that that's something that you should be doing. And turns out like they had just set it at a flat amount like years ago and had never gone back in and looked at it. So they were missing all this tax savings that they easily could have afforded. Like very basic.
Do you know that I did not max out my 401k until I was, I think, 38? 36, 37.
Maggie was really the friend I was talking about. I just didn't want to say. No, I'm just kidding.
But I am a very good example of someone that was a high earner and not
very
financially
smart. And like
good
super smart. Like Maggie, you were really, really, really smart and savvy and like sophisticated. And
I'm more street smart than like book smart, but
you
I appreciate
think a lot about decisions in your life. Like you're very intentional. You're very like, okay, I'm scanning for ways to optimize. And if this just isn't on your radar, then it's not on your radar.
Yeah. And I would not have considered myself financially savvy. I was a good saver.
Yeah.
I had not maxed out my 401k. I was not investing in the stock market. None of these things until my late 30s. And so I think this is a good reminder for like, this is common. Like, don't beat yourself up over it.
Yeah.
Just like learn and do better and become more, like listen to podcasts like this, right? And become more financially savvy. But I do think there's a lot of like solace in realizing that like you're not alone and like don't be too hard on yourself because you're here now.
Yeah.
And we can all learn how to do better. It is literally what inspired me to want and continues to inspire me to put time and energy into this podcast where we do not make any money. We do not have ads. Liz and myself and the other co-hosts do it out of the kindness of our hearts and that we enjoy talking to each other and we enjoy engaging with all of you. And I personally, you were much more financially savvy than me at a young age. I know you were because of like certain stories you'll tell about things.
Well, I think that goes a little bit to my point that there's almost, and I know tangent, I'll come back. I promise. But there's this like idea that people who are earning less income are less financially savvy. And sometimes I think it's the exact opposite because they have to pay really close attention, especially to their budget and to their spending. And then for me, I always say, I've said, I've done episodes, I've like talked about this a ton. I'm almost grateful that I didn't really start making capital G good money until later because it forced me to have these habits. If I had been a high earner in my 20s, I'm almost not like, even though I would have had higher income earlier, I'm almost not sure that I would be financially ahead because I think if I had had a much higher income when I was 22, 25, I would have had a really nice apartment and I would have had a closet full of nice clothes and spending my 20s cultivating those habits of being wise with spending, of being like, okay, I can afford to put, maybe only like 10% of my 401k, but I know I should be doing that kind of thing. I got to choose, right? Like this Ann Taylor dress or going out to dinner this Friday. I can't do both. So that way when the income came later, I felt more like, oh, I just have this money that's extra now. What should I do with it?
Yeah.
I don't want to be obnoxious in this episode. I'm like, hey, you might be a Henry. You might not be as smart as I was. I don't want it to come across that way, but I don't think that was necessarily a good decision on my part. I think a lot of that was just kind of luck.
So the good news, I think, is if you were a Henry, you were in an awesome position to build some serious wealth with some very minor adjustments, right? And just becoming a little bit more financially savvy, understanding, the best things to do and when. And we talk about this stuff on the podcast all the time, and we'll sort of hit some of the points and suggestions today. But we have a ton of other episodes that we'll point you back to that would be helpful. But if you're listening to a podcast like this, I think you're already on the right track. And I wish when I was in my mid to late 20s, early 30s, I had someone just like simply telling me some of this stuff because I would have done it. It just like wasn't on my radar. You know, I was interested in other stuff at the time. I was being fairly frugal, but like I just wish I had, you know, voices like this in my ear. So today you have Liz and I's sultry voice in your ear.
It's a good place to be, right? So that Henry stay, you're making good money. You're not sure what to do with it yet. You're maybe like, well, should I go on more vacations or what's a Roth IRA? I don't know. It's such a good spot to be in because we talk all the time about shovels. It's like you have a big shovel and you're at the point where it's just time to learn what to do with it.
Yeah, you do have a
How to
big
use it.
shovel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you purchased a shovel recently?
No, I've never purchased a shovel in my life.
In your whole life? Well, actually, you know, I inherited a lot of shovels from my dad, but I do think I've purchased a shovel. I've broken a shovel recently. I've had one that's like broken. I just bought a new shovel a couple weeks ago. Good fiberglass shovel runs you about $60.
Whoa.
Just wanted to let you know.
I
You get a wood handle one, they're a little cheaper, but that's what
Okay.
broke on me. So I was like, I'm upgrading. You know, I'm a Henry now, so I can afford a good shovel.
I've been a shovel borrower. I mean, I can afford a shovel, man.
Yeah. Well, you can afford a shovel. I wish we lived closer. You could borrow.
I could
my
borrow your.
shovel.
Yeah, you just drop it in the mail and I'll send it back.
Yeah. I mean, if you didn't think Liz and I could get off track on anything, you throw a word out like shovel, and I'm like, I could take us down a shovel tangent right now. Let me tell you about the shovels I've been buying.
Yeah, I don't think that's a. And wait, am I like deluding myself? That's a term that people use. Big shovel.
Oh, it totally is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you said that, I was just thinking I like spent a lot of time researching shovels recently.
Okay.
And so you don't. Yeah, we're talking about like, you know,
bigger income is a bigger.
Not
shovel.
a literal shovel, but. I was just moving us to literal shovels. Let's move on.
Anyways.
So we're going to talk about, in case you're like, what is happening here? We actually do want to talk about two big things that we think are holding Henry's back and how to fix them and solutions, right? And and look, if you're like, look, I'm not a Henry, this doesn't apply to me, I'd actually say anybody could take some things away from this. I think anybody could take something away from listening to Liz and I talk.
You're already listening to this podcast. Yeah. Clearly,
you're invested. You're here.
You just enjoy the sound of our voice.
You're here. Why not stay? Just hang out. Maybe you'll hear something interesting about sod at the end. Okay. First problem.
Yeah.
Holding Henry's back.
No plan. What's your plan?
And because you have no plan, lifestyle creep is taken over. This is just like my yard. The weeds are taking over the grass. If you don't have a plan for your lawn, the weeds will take over. And if you don't have a plan for your money, lifestyle creep, as you earn more money, will just slowly take over. And all that extra money you are earning, I'm going to pull all this back into grass.
I mean, I'm laughing at your grass metaphor, but I read through the show notes before we started the episode, I promise. Yeah. But I just noticed that you wrote in all caps, "Why are you working? What are you working towards?"
I wanted you to yell that, so.
It's just funny that it's in all caps.
It's going to be in bold now.
Oh, God.
Is that enough?
Yeah,
bold and underlined. I was going to make it red, but that's not on my screen right now. But I can do italics. There you go. Okay. So, yeah, you gotta as Liz just said, why are you working? What are you working towards? Sorry, in our notes, she just adjusted the font to 50, so I can't even read.
I put it back now, we can read.
I just like you guys to get a little sense of the behind the scenes here. There's a lot that goes on to run this podcast.
So much.
There's one Google Doc, that's all. So, yeah, the idea is if you don't have a plan with your life and you don't have something you're working towards, whether it's retirement, whether it's early retirement, whether it's just some level of financial freedom and security, or whether it's that you want to, go buy a farm someday and run a B&B, whatever it might be.
Sell sod.
Yeah, you might want to install.
It's so funny. Every time you mention sod, okay, I swear this is the last sod tangent.
Okay, yeah.
I just read this really cute novel. It was called Finley Donovan.
I've read it, yeah.
Killing It. Oh, you read it too? Okay,
yeah, I've read them all.
And then her ex-husband has the sod farm. Yeah. That's a big plot point in the book.
It is.
And
I'm not going to give it away, but a lot of, you could actually cover up a lot of things with it. It's like Breaking Bad,
Exactly.
It's like the car wash. A lot of things could be happening at the sod farm.
Every time you talk about sod, anyways, I think about Steven's sod farm.
He's not a good,
He's not a good guy.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
at this point, I would buy sod from anybody. So if he's available, I'm willing
You're
to
like, I would buy
discuss.
sod from
Yeah.
this fictional
Finley's
character's
ex-husband. Yeah.
jerk ex-husband who
Yeah.
might have mob ties.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Anyway,
Where were we? Okay.
What
so you
are
got to
you
have a
working
plan. Right. Do
toward?
you want to own a sod farm someday?
do you want to own a sod?
Why are you working? Right. So it is like, it's hard to be motivated to save money and to get more savvy with your finances if you aren't working towards something, whatever that something is. And like, this something doesn't have to be super clear, right? It might just be, it's important to have money set aside so you have you and your children, or you and your family, or you and your partner, or just yourself have options in the future. I think the problem with not having a plan is that you are very susceptible to lifestyle creep. Your spending will quietly rise with your income. You will, you start making more money. You're going to get a nicer car. You're going to like upgrade your gym membership. You're going to be able to quickly validate and have a reason that you are like constantly upgrading and kind of creeping up everything in your lifestyle. And some of it might be very intentional and purposeful, but a lot of it might be just like the word creeping up on you. And you don't even realize that, you used to spend $30,000 a year, and now all of a sudden you're spending $60,000 a year, and all this extra money you're making is like you don't actually have any more wealth accumulated.
Yeah.
Then.
Was your why early retirement, or what was it before that?
Well, I didn't have any early retirement goals until like, I'd say my mid to late 30s. My why early on was bag lady syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I was just sort of I say that like half jokingly. It was kind of just that I wanted financial security, right? And I didn't really have a why though. Like I, at that time, planned on working forever, right? I was very invested in my career. I wanted to continue to move up. And so I was, I always say that phrase of like, are you working to live or are you living to work? I was, what is the one? I always get them confused. I was working to, no, I was living to work.
The bad one.
I was the bad one, right? I was living to work. I put work first for everything. So I didn't actually have, it's one of the reasons why I was a Henry, right? I was saving a decent amount of money, but I was not financially savvy. I was not maxing out my 401k. I was not investing in index funds. And I wasn't maxing out an HSA, stuff like that. And yeah. And part of it is I didn't really have a good why. So I'm a good example of this. And I think also I was the same way too. A lot of high earners don't track their expenses because they're able to pay their bills every month, right? They kind of might be living paycheck to paycheck, but they're not running out of money. And I was definitely in this category. I remember when I met Mike from Friends on Fire and he pushed me to track my expenses. And I was like, well, I don't need to. I got plenty of money. And, he had all his reasons. And like, even when we were talking about fire, like you got to know your expenses to be able to do any sort of planning for retirement.
You have to.
And yeah, but a big one is like often higher earners definitely don't feel like they need to track their expenses. Similar to the example, Liz, you gave where you're like, the less you're earning, the more financially savvy you often have to be because you're working with less. And so you're way more inclined to like track your expenses and budget and things like that.
Yeah, yeah. And it can go, I mean, people with high income or lower income can both be like savvy or not savvy. I think there's also a lot of sometimes some trauma that can come with being in like a scarcity mindset around money, and almost, I mean, I don't want to wade into something that psychological that I am actually like nowhere near qualified to explain. But there can be also like, hey, I don't know if I'm ever going to have money again, so I'm going to spend it now. But my point is more that you can be savvy or not savvy at higher or lower income. And it seems like such a common myth that people who make more money are more savvy about it. And often what they're doing is just like paying some advisor a big commission to quote unquote manage their money for them. And it's, anyways, I think that I know several peers who are high earners who don't track their expenses, but who will say, well, I generally have an idea, like there's always money left over.
Yeah.
And I think that that's an okay approach. Well, first of all, listen, I think whatever you want to do with
Yeah.
it's your money, like whatever.
do
But
you,
I mean,
yeah.
you're the one, listen, you're the one who tuned into a financial podcast. I'm going to tell you what I think. That's like kind of the gig. But I think it's fine if you have goals. Because I think I've kind of reached a point like this in my life. Oh my gosh, Liz, finish your thought. I think it's fine not to track your expenses that closely if you're like, my goal is to max out my 401k, max out my IRA, put this much in my taxable brokerage, maybe use an HSA, and then anything after that is totally fine. I have gone through phases where that's all I really want to do.
I agree. And you're in that example, you're like, the old phrase, you're paying yourself first, right? If you're like doing all that stuff and you have money left over and you're not like trying to fast track to fire or something like that,
Right.
like go for it. And I think tracking your expenses is a very worthwhile endeavor, but I don't
100%.
think you need to do it forever for your whole life. I think there's, time and place for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about the solutions to this.
Well,
or sorry, go ahead.
I have one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead. No. No, ma'am. Oh, we are not going to talk about solutions yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. But wait for it.
Just on tracking, again, I think there's some number of people who don't track their expenses. They say, I've always had money left over. I know that there's enough there, so I don't worry about it. What I have heard multiple people say, and I think it's a really common experience, is that when you track your money, though, a couple things happen. Either one, you identify something where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was spending that much money on that. That's totally wasteful. I don't need it. Maybe you identified a subscription that you weren't even using anymore, or you realize Kathleen, who hosts the Reframe podcast and is on Instagram as the Middle-ish Mom, was talking about how they were just going out to eat all the time and not even really enjoying it. Like her husband is an amazing cook, and they would prefer to eat at home. They would find the food better, but they were just like casually going out for lunch or dinner with a family of 4, and it really adds up. Or on the other end of the spectrum, and I had a conversation with a really good friend about this, some like long ongoing conversations that I really, really enjoyed, because I was pushing. I was like, you got to track your spend. Like, I can't believe you are the smartest, most accomplished, most successful, most intelligent person I know. This is not Maggie. This is my other friend who also falls in that bucket. And I was like, I cannot believe you've never tracked your expenses. Like, that's like never just once for a month or something to just see how it went.
Bananas.
And the what ended up happening was the way I always feel about tracking expenses is it actually gives you permission to spend on the things that you want. And it gets you out of this. You can't track your expenses based on vibes. And so you'll get in your head like, oh, like staying at the nicer hotel is expensive, or getting my nails done, or these things feel wasteful. And then when you actually look at your budget, you find that you have all this room to do the things that you actually want to do.
Yeah.
And you can actually spend more money, because once you look at your income and your expenses, you realize that you don't need to spend time thinking about the things that maybe you were thinking about.
Yeah. I love what you just said of like, you can't track your expenses based on vibes.
You can't. I
mean, you could try, but yeah, I agree. I don't think it's going to work very well.
I post I've gotten out of the habit. I used to do a podcast episode on Liz Gets Loaded every month saying, hey, here's the previous month, here's what we spent. And what I noticed over and over and over and over and over again is that I would be in the month and I would think, oh, this was a really expensive month. We went out to that nice dinner, and we had that vet bill or whatever. And I would think it would be an expensive month. And then I would get to the end of the month and go, oh, actually, our total spending was on the low end, or vice versa. I thought that we didn't really spend that much money, but then there was one big thing, a big car repair or something. And actually our monthly spending total was way higher than I would have ballparked. And that's as me, someone who is on 2 personal finance podcasts, who checks Monarch every day, this is like my hobby, and I still can't do it off vibes. I'm surprised often at the end of the month. I'm like, oh, that's weird.
I'm the same, right? When Greg will give us our, he'll tally up the numbers. I'm like, could have been within a $40,000 range. You know what I mean? Like I could have been $90,000. I could have been like 90%
for the year.
Oh
yeah,
for the year, not for the month. No. And when he's doing like 6 months, I'm like, it literally could swing like by 20, 30 grand, and I wouldn't be shocked either way, right? I'm like kind of like, I'm not really sure.
But because and then I swear this is the last tangent, but I think it's because we assign these emotional values to what we're spending on. And for me, I always think that it's going to be like a quote unquote good month, a low spending month, if I didn't spend money on stuff that was fun. Like if I feel like if I had a lot of fun, then it was probably an expensive month. But on the months where I'm spending on a vet bill, on car repair, on lawn care, whatever, like I don't feel like I went out and spent money sort of extravagantly and had a lot of fun. So I don't expect the total to be high. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I make the same assumptions, but not on fun stuff. I make the same assumptions based on like kind of superfluous household items, like Amazon purchase. You know what I mean? Just sort of like random projects and things. And I'm like, oh, well, if I didn't do a lot of that, and then I might be totally surprised that our food costs like twice as much as last month or something, or that we were eating out a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's just hard. You just got to track. All that to say is you just got to track your expenses.
But yeah, on that note, so the solution to this problem is tracking your expenses. You know, we are huge fans of Monarch. I will put huge. I will put a link in the show notes to Liz's referral link and my referral link, and you can decide which one of us you like better and which one you want to click on. Just kidding. You could just click on either one. But
That's
also,
amazing.
it's funny, Liz, another tangent. I was just on the Bigger Pockets podcast, and we were talking about expense tracking. Yeah, I don't know when it'll go
big
out.
Time.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe, what if they're like, they had me on and then it like never airs?
Oh no,
like,
what if they don't think
like,
it was worth?
I'm not big time, I'm little time.
I don't think that's true. If anything, I bet they would make it into a 2-part episode. There's so much good content here.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. But we were talking about Monarch. And they were like, who do you use for expense tracking? And I was like, oh, Monarch, I love it, blah, blah, blah. And then they were like, oh, we just got them as a sponsor. And I was like, cool, we don't do sponsors, but I've got a Monarch hoodie. And it was funny because Scott was like, well, I don't have a Monarch hoodie. So,
well, yeah.
I was like, who's the winner here?
Who's the real winner?
Right? You could take all that money, but look who's wearing a hoodie.
Exactly. Monarch, we love you so much.
We love you so much, Monarch.
I feel borderline sponsored because they changed. Did you notice how they changed their
Greg
referral?
Just told me the referral used to be like more Monarch credit, and I'm like, I don't need more Monarch credit, thanks. Now it's like $50 to like you get a gift card.
I know. I almost feel like weird about it because I liked it because you pointed out that the nice thing about referring people to Monarch is like, hey, I'm not selling you on this just to like make a buck, because the only thing I get when I recommend Monarch is more Monarch credit. So if I didn't like it, why would I be out here telling you that it's great?
Yeah.
Because all I get is more of this product. All I get
is more of it for myself. Yeah.
Exactly. And at this point, I have a couple free years. I'm sure you do too, because I will not stop talking about it. But now I got to decide the problem too is they give you $50 for every referral, but they give it to you in a gift card. And I just know it's going to sit in a digital drawer forever. And
well, it's funny. Greg just was like, we were just at Sam's and Greg was like, we got a $50 Monarch gift card in there. We've only gotten one so far, but he was like reminding me that it was in our Sam's app. And I was like, oh, nice.
I've gotten 3, by the way. Thank you if you used ours or Maggie's link. Thanks. We really appreciate you for doing that.
Thanks for the bananas and strawberries from Sam's Club. I appreciate it.
Well, it's limited now, too. So once we max it out, then we can just start sharing other people's. Like,
oh, yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, you're like literally feeding my family. So thank you.
Yeah.
So the tracking expenses is important. We've already talked about it. We don't need to talk about it more. We've got whole episodes on this. We'll put a link in the show notes. We've got a whole episode about like why we switched to Monarch when Mint shut down. And so that one's helpful. Also, just like hit pause for a second and take some time to think about your goals and like create. It doesn't need to be a detailed plan, but like back to the like all caps, why are you working? What are you working towards? Like try to answer those questions. And it doesn't need to be a perfect answer, right? Just start having a discussion with yourself or with you and your partner, or maybe with you and your partner and your kids, right? It might be like a whole family discussion. And that will evolve over time. But I think it is very helpful to think about why you are trying to become more financially savvy and like, what's your why, right? Like, I love that term of like just asking yourself why.
You also, I like that framing of what's your why. And sometimes I feel very intimidated by it because I think for a lot of people, their why is their kids and being able to spend time with their kids. And then I always am like, I don't have that. I guess I don't have a why. Honestly, my why back in the day of saving and investing money was I heard this guy on a call-in show and he said, what do I do after I've maxed out all my tax advantage accounts? And at the time I was like, what? You just you just had like an extra, at the time, whatever the 401k max was, like $18,000 plus $6,000 for IRA plus whatever the HSA was at the time, another few thousand. And then you have money left after that. And I thought that was an impossible.
That's a Henry. Well, actually, that person probably is rich. So.
Well, I thought that was an impossible level of wealth. And then
look at
I
you
was
now.
like, one day I'm gonna do that. One day I'm gonna be that person.
Yeah,
with that problem.
And that day has arrived. So
yeah,
congratulations. But I mean, to your point, Liz, you might be the why, right? Let's say you're a single person with no kids. Like your why can be you. It should be you. It should just be that you want some. It doesn't have to be some big audacious goal of like, I want to, retire to Aruba, or like, I don't know, I want to buy a house in Hawaii. It might just, or some big business or something you want to do. It might just be, I care about myself. I want some level of financial security so that I have options in the future. I don't ever want to be financially tied to anyone else, and I want to get to some level of financial independence.
Yeah.
Right? Like it
really
doesn't need to be a complicated why.
That really hit me in the heart. Like your reason can be you.
It
I
should
never
be
thought
you.
about it that way.
I mean, honestly, like I could point to my kids, but it's like me. I mean, and I care about my kids. So, but it all ties back to me and like what I care about. And what I care about is going to evolve over time. So it's not set in stone.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of that is like a very good segue to the second big thing that we think is holding Henry's back. It's that you are getting caught up in what other people think and not being mindful about what you want and what you think. Like that mindset piece is huge, right? Like you knowing what you want. And this is why, as a result of this, a lot of people get caught up in like what people call keeping up with the Joneses. I like to joke that the Joneses are probably in like debt and not super financially savvy. So I don't know why you're trying to keep up with them.
Or they have a way bigger shovel than you do. And
they might have a bigger shovel. They might not even have a shovel though.
Yeah.
Right? They might have some facade that sits in front of that shovel. And that that's a bad metaphor, but
they either way, it doesn't really matter. Their shovel is, as it turns out, none of your business. But I always think, so I have been call it like a senior level role in the companies that I worked for the last some number of years. But I always like to joke, I'm like the most junior senior person. It always feels like I'm not the big boss, I would say, of all the senior people. I'm the lowest high person on the org chart.
I used to joke I'm the worst dressed person, like executive at our company, like, which was probably true. Like I just was like the most casual in my interactions and in my physical appearance.
Right.
But I get what you're saying.
Well, I think often it's common to have a pretty friendly relationship with your own boss, with your own manager. And so there was a lot of times I was reporting to a C-level person and they would be talking about flying private or having a vacation house or exactly all of these things. And I would kind of think that would feel very normal to me. And then I would have to remember that one, that person makes a lot more money than I do. And also, I don't actually want a beach house.
Yeah, that person makes a lot more money than you. You may actually have more wealth accumulated. I'm not saying you do, but
I absolutely do not. But but maybe.
But I think, I mean, so back to this point of like, I feel old when I make comments like this, and I'm like always saying this in front of my kids, but like in today's day and age, we have more and more influences around us. Like it is harder.
Grow up with this in the 1900s.
In the 1990s, in the 80s and 90s, which is, the 1900s. I thought you were making a joke. And then I was like, oh no, we were raised in the 1900s.
I saw someone, I feel like I've seen that used as a joke. Like trust me, I'm your elder. I was born in the 1900s. But then I think I've seen people use it more just straight, like, oh yeah, so back in the 1900s, blah, 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 blah. And then today, and I'm like, okay, let's not.
Yeah. It's like, so even when you said that, I still thought it was a joke. And then I was like, no, we were raised in the 1900s.
Back in the 1900s.
I graduated high school in the 1900s. We did not have the influences that are around us and our kids today, right? Like we did not have tap to pay. We didn't have Amazon, ship where you buy something one day and it shows up at your house at 4 a.m. the next day. and everything's preloaded. You've got everything saved in. It's like one click away. We didn't have all these social influences. We didn't have all these people, just all the like product recommendations and influencers and like we didn't have all this stuff getting like thrown in our face every day.
We had the Sears catalog.
Yeah, I had service merchandise. Do you remember that?
Oh,
You go and there was
yes.
like the conveyor belt. You'd like walk around the showroom. And,
Oh.
you know, my dad would maybe take me there once a month or like once every few months.
Right.
And it wasn't to buy me stuff. It was to like pick up some, you know, some tool he needed or something if Sears didn't have it. Yeah, it just was like a different day and age. And I think the pressure that is around all of us is just growing, has grown exponentially and continues to. And the more you get caught up in that and like find yourself susceptible to that. And we have whole episodes that are kind of talking about like the influences of marketing and advertising. And so we'll put some of those links in the show notes. But I just think it is harder and harder. And so this is one of the things that is a big problem to H.E.N.R.Y's that is holding H.E.N.R.Y's back. It's not just about like overspending and tracking your expenses and the stuff we were talking about before. It is really about becoming more intentional with what you're spending your money on and making sure that you are, you know, not spending on things that don't. I'm always saying it like as a negative. Let me just say it as the, you know, positive. You want to be spending your money intentionally on things that align to your values and bring you some level of joy. And you want to be in tune and in touch with what those things are and not be doing it for the wrong reasons, right? And, you know, so that is the solution, by the way, right? You need to become a more conscious spender, a more conscientious consumer, a more discerning, what are we talking about? Like
Discerning customer is our favorite
Yes.
way to describe ourselves.
Yeah. That's a tricky thing to do. And that's something that I'm still improving upon, but that I'm very focused on personally.
Yeah, easier said than done.
For sure. And I think, you know, again, we can say it, but there are some like specific things you can do to remove some of those influences, right? You can, you know, we've got whole shows on this, so we'll put some links in the show notes to some suggested episodes at the end. But you can unfollow accounts as an example, right? If you see certain accounts that sort of always tempt you to buy things and you realize that it's a negative influence on your spending because you're not happy once you get those things, unfollow those accounts. Quit spending as much time on social media, right? Remove your credit cards from some of these apps and make it harder to purchase things. You know, we've talked about, you know, I know you're off Amazon right now, Liz. Andrew's pulled off Amazon Prime, and I'm not quite there myself yet. I blame it on teenagers who tell me with about 4 minutes notice of things they need the next day.
Yeah. That's so real.
There's so many things you can do. And again, we're going to put a link in the show notes to a bunch of recommended episodes that I think specifically will help H.E.N.R.Y's and where we like deep dive into some of these things. But I think the more you can be a, you know, conscientious consumer. Thoughtful. It's an easier word to say. And just not getting caught up in what other people think, like really being in touch with what success is for you. Do you like how I put you in all caps there?
You.
What makes you happy?
Yeah, that
not
was
someone
lowercase.
else.
I didn't like it.
Not the Joneses, but
You're
what
the
makes
reason.
you happy.
I know.
You're the reason.
Spending, it really is. I know it's kind of glossed over. You know, this is something that's very simple, not easy, but spending choices, you just have to make them every day. And it can be really hard. Okay. The reason I'm thinking about that, I know this is an audio only podcast, but Maggie can see I have this picture hanging up behind me that I just hung up over this.
Did you finally find a big picture?
No, well, that's not the big one. Yeah, but anyways, I set up this, long story short, I just hung this picture up on my wall and it's above this piece of furniture and I think it looks so good. But what I want is I think it would look even better with two little like light sconces on either side, right? Two sort of vertical sconces. And I started looking online. I'm trying to not buy new things, not like no new things, but I'm trying to minimize. And so I started looking on Facebook Marketplace for some lights, and then I just thought, oh, if I just order these on Amazon, it would be here in like 12 hours, and then it would just be done.
Be easy.
I know it would be so easy, and in the grand scheme of things, I feel good about my goals to try to shop secondhand more and to try to shop at Amazon less. And I have good reasons for those things, and it feels like a net good. And then sometimes, though, I worry that I'm sort of unnecessarily punishing myself for a decision that really doesn't matter in the long term. Like whether I buy these lights off of Amazon or go find them secondhand is not going to be the thing that moves the needle on the planet. Or
yeah. It made me think of the phrase, which I just had to Google because I was like, what does this even mean? Cutting off your nose to spite your face. It made me think of that when you were saying that.
Yeah. I think it's maybe it's more like cutting off what would be something less harsh than your nose.
Like just pulling out a tooth to spite your face? Like a back tooth, not a front tooth?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like big, I don't know.
Could we make a comparison to sod in some way? Let's pull it all back to that.
Yeah, pulling up your grass to spite the weeds or something. My point being just, it's not easy.
Yeah.
You have all of these things pulling you in different directions.
Temptations are everywhere.
I don't even mean so I don't mean that it's hard to sort of like stick to the thing that you know is necessarily correct. I mean, it's hard to know what is correct.
Oh, yeah.
Like, am I just making my own life harder for no good reason?
Yes.
Is the idea. Like, you have all these competing principles. You were like, okay, I want to shop secondhand. I want to shop in a way that's better for the planet. I want to shop in a way that's better for my wallet. I'm also busy. I actually have enough money to just solve this problem in a couple of clicks. I just want to be a good consumer and a good steward of my own energy. And there's just, there's all these things pulling you in different directions.
And I think when we make comparisons of keeping up with the Joneses, it's a very different point than what you're making, which is important, which is we're often trying to keep up with what we think is the right thing to do and being a better person and a better global citizen. And it's overwhelming.
It is.
Do you ever see the Instagram videos where it's someone's oh, I'm supposed to... Well, there's a whole nother set that's making fun of middle-aged women and weighted vests and all the different things we're doing. But
it's my magnesium and my
I gotta
wear my weighted vest and floss and meditate and stretch and lift weights, but not too much.
Yeah, and I can't eat chocolate if it's not ethically sourced, and I can't, and it is overwhelming to even be able to manage all those things, even if it were true that all those things actually are, quote, better for us in some way or better for the world. It would just be I don't want to say impossible, but really difficult and overwhelming to attempt to do all the things all the time.
It is. And you think, we talk about the term keeping up with the Joneses, not caring what other people think. And the classic version of that is, don't buy the flashy car, or the nice wardrobe or the fancy vacation or whatever it is. But there's also this version of keeping up with the Joneses. Is I feel like I have to keep up with this Jones of the ethical consumer Joneses, or the I'm the most frugal Joneses, or I'm going to reach early retirement the earliest Joneses. You just replace it. There are... I have seen online conversations where people are no, I have the oldest, crappiest car. No, I have the oldest, crappiest car. And it just becomes this new arms race.
Yes.
So when you're well, you have money, you could just buy yourself a nicer, safer car. And who are you showing off for?
You always make a great phrase, which I can't quite remember, but I know you're going to remember because it's you, where you're there's no competition for who spent the less.
Yeah.
There's no award. What do you say?
Yeah, there's no trophy for spending the least.
Trophy. Yeah, there's no trophy for being the most perfect global citizen. I guess maybe the trophy is you could sleep better at night, but also then you're up all night because you're stressed about all the stuff you got to do.
Exactly.
In
the grand scheme of things, is this...
Yeah.
You got to just get 80% right.
Yeah. So speaking of 80% right, let's land this plane, right? We're talking about Henrys. If you are a Henry, a high earner, not rich yet, and you are feeling stuck, I hope this has been helpful. And also, I hope you can remember that you've already won half the battle by having a high income, right? The other half is building out the right habits. We have so many episodes that can help you on this, and we'll put a link in the show notes to a little bit of a Henry list of things we specifically recommend for like Henrys to listen to keep you motivated.
A Henry playlist.
Yeah. Yeah. A Henry podcast playlist. I like it.
I like it.
The other thing that I think is important to remember, and we almost did this episode today, but we'll do it as our next episode, is like, you know, just like we talked about all the stuff that's like overwhelming in this world, like all the things you're supposed to do the right things in this world. This is all about like 80-20, right? Like less is more. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Like you want to get the big stuff right and like don't sweat the small stuff. There's a million ways to say that, but that would be my last piece of advice on this is like, you're never going to be able to do all this stuff perfectly that we talk about. We do not do it perfectly. We talk about a lot of things. We've made our own mistakes. We share, you know, the best advice and counsel we have that is actually not advice and counsel, to be clear. It's just our opinions. For entertainment purposes only.
Literally anyone can start a podcast?
Anyone.
Literally anyone.
The two of us. Shocking, right?
I was in a conversation and it had come up in conversation that I have a podcast and about money and like it came up in a natural way, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I wasn't just like, hey, did you know I'm a very fancy podcast?
Well, you didn't have your shirt on that said I have a podcast. I have two podcasts.
Ask me about my podcast. And the person in this, you know, 5 or 6 people were chatting and he was kind of thinking about this car purchase. And he goes, well, I want your opinion then as the expert. And I was like, that is hilarious because there is some sort of like social credibility or something to like putting out a podcast, I guess. But like, did you know that literally anybody can do that? Like, there is no gatekeeping whatsoever. Any old ding dong can buy a microphone and start posting things online.
Ding dong.
It's up to you to decide if you think we're credible or not. These little microphones don't magically make us anything special.
Well, look, ding dong is the word of the episode, okay? So any old ding dong can have a podcast. These old ding dongs, if you made it this far, shoot us a message that says ding dong, ding dong,
ding dong.
Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you for listening.
If you're still here, wow, you definitely deserve a trophy.
You're a real one.
You're a real one. We appreciate you spending some of your time with us, whether you're a Henry or not. And if you've enjoyed this episode, we always love it when you leave us a written review on Apple Podcasts, or you can leave us a rating on Spotify. Hey, Liz, you know you put up that post about like leaving a review for my birthday?
Yeah.
Well, after that, our review count went down by 1. Someone seemed to delete a review, which is like not the kind of birthday present I wanted, but
rude.
Thanks. Yeah. And then we got like 2 more after that.
Oh, that's nice.
So it was a light reply. If you feel like you want to like increase that, you know, help us out. Leave us a review. We love it.
We really do love it. These fireworks go off in our brain.
It does. We get a free dopamine hit and we love it. Yeah.
I think we did it. Oh, should we close some tabs?
Oh, wait. I kind of wanted to close some tabs.
You want to close some tabs? Okay, we can close a few tabs.
And then I'll go back and do the
I'll explain it and then you can do it. Okay, so should we close some tabs? All right. So I have been closing tabs at the end of my podcast episode. So I have a podcast that's not Inside Out Money. It's called Liz Gets Loaded.
Liz Gets Loaded.
Liz Gets Loaded. The money kind of loaded, mostly.
Well, sometimes.
Sometimes the other. Every once in a while, I will record while I'm drinking a glass of wine. But so at the end of episodes in August, I have a goal. I have 500 tabs open, and I'm trying to get down to call it like 10.
This is on your phone, to clarify.
On my phone, correct. Because your Safari app on my iPhone will only let me have 500 tabs open before you have to open like a new batch of tabs, which I will not do because that feels like a line too far. But
I don't know if Chrome has a limit, but I use Chrome.
On your phone?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Does it tell you how many tabs you have open?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then it also will actively put in tabs not used for 21 days goes into an inactive tabs like folder. So I can separately go look at even older ones.
Maybe I should switch because
I love Chrome. I think it's better in my opinion.
All right. Well, in any case, I've been closing tabs at the end of Liz Gets Loaded episodes. And I was like, wait, is this good content or is this terrible?
I love it.
And the response has been like, it's great. It's just so it's like the ultimate snooping because it's all the things I've Googled or just had a tab open. And so Maggie is going to close some tabs.
Okay. Are you not going to close some with me?
I've been closing tabs I'm doing 31 days of podcasting.
You got to save your closed tabs for Liz Gets Loaded.
I'll
you want to hear
look for a
Liz's?
couple. Yeah, you do.
Okay,
you
I
do
got a
your-
question. When you do your closed tabs, do you go to the oldest ones first or do you go to the most recent ones first?
I kind of like scroll to the middle.
Okay, I kind of went to the oldest and was like, wow, this was like a flash from the past.
I know I had tabs open. A lot of them were open from last year. I think those are my oldest ones. Here's one I have open. It's called The Top 7 Worst Things About Living in Mexico.
Were you going to move to Mexico?
I often think about moving to Mexico, and I think this is oh, I thought maybe it was a joke, like, oh, the 7 worst things. It's like, oh, there's just too many margaritas, but it wasn't. It was actually like people set off fireworks all the time, and it's hard to sleep. I don't need that anymore. I'm going to close that.
Okay, you doing more or you want me to go?
No, you go.
Okay, I've got a tab on a bunch of different articles about grout. So we were redoing some grout in our master bathroom
Amazing.
shower. I was about to say closet, and then I was like, couldn't think of the word. And then I got a Google search results that says, what if grout stain gets on tiles? Which it did. Got all over the tiles. By the way, it stays there once it gets on there, in case you want to know the answer. I've got a tab open to my kids' high school volleyball team. Another tab to the sponsorships page. I was getting them sponsorships from local businesses. I got a tab about the transfer limits at Wealthfront, how much you can transfer per day. Oh, I got a tab open about Bermuda versus Zoysia grass. I was trying to figure out what kind of grass I have.
You're just like a little HGTV episode.
I am. I got a Sign Up Genius tab. If you know, you know. Do you know Sign Up Genius? It's used for shit at schools. It's like a terrible site, but everybody uses it and it's covered in ads. Okay. I got a tab open to Projection Lab, which I'm trying out. Andrew gave me a free account to test out. Thanks, Andrew. I got a tab about how to change the air filter on an air purifier that we have. This is fun. This is like a blast through my boring day-to-day life past.
Like a little diary.
Oh, I got a tab on the meaning of SciBow, which is like a term that kids say sometimes. Do you want to know what it stands for?
SciBow?
Yeah.
Use it in a sentence.
SciBow.
That's a whole sentence?
Yeah.
I don't, you'll have to just tell me, I guess.
Well, I was misspelling it, which was part of the problem. I was spelling it C-I-B-O-W.
Oh,
It's C-Y-B-A-U.
Oh, but I was saying, does it stand for like, see you, bye?
It's an no, it does
Adios.
not. That's a little nicer than what it stands for.
Okay. What does it stand for?
Oh, no, it's S-Y-B-A-U. Sorry, I misspelled the whole thing. Shut your bitch ass up. So the kids say it all the time. And I was like, what? I don't just mean my kids, like all kids. And I was like, what does this mean? And they wouldn't tell me.
They
and now
say
I
it out
understand.
loud?
Oh, yeah, all the time. They say SciBow. They don't say the words.
Yeah, but that feels like, you know, you'll see written out like STFU, but I wouldn't say that to someone. That's like saying LOL. Well, I guess I do say LOL sometimes.
Yeah. No, they say all sorts of things that are like, if you were to say out, would be highly inappropriate, which I think is why they've come up with like slang terms for it. Very, very intelligent generation.
Innovative.
I'm worried for our future in many ways. I was trying to figure out how to change my profile in the GroupMe app, which is a app we have to use for like volleyball communication at school. I could do this all day long.
It's so fun, right?
I was looking for a coupon to the Dirt Guy, which is a company we bought a lot of rocks from.
All right. I do actually
need to go.
I gotta go.
I gotta go too.
Going. You could tack this on to the end of the episode.
Thank you guys for listening. Liz has to go. Thank goodness, because someone needed to give us a reason to stop. I've got 600 more tabs to go through. We always appreciate y'all spending some time with us. If you want to share this episode with some friends or family, we always love when you do that. And if you have any thoughts or questions, you can always leave us a voicemail or text us at 404-981-3370, or you can find us on Instagram at Inside Out Money or Liz at Liz Gets Loaded.
That's true.
Okay, thanks, Liz.
Okay, we did it. Yay.
We did it.
All right, bye, friends.
Bye.
We're going round and
round and round. We haven't sang on this episode yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boom. Not very musical. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Oh, but wait. Like we promised, here's a little bit of us talking about sod from before we started the recording. But we did you a favor and left it at the end for those of you who don't want to hear Liz and I talking about sod. Enjoy. Do you have any experience with sod?
No.
Future conversation for a future day.
No. And I hope to never have.
I don't want to have grass in general
Yeah.
is like the weirdest thing. Like you
Yeah.
pay a bunch of money for it
Yeah.
and then you pay someone to take care of it.
No, it's
You know what I mean? Like what's
and it's just like an ornamental thing. Like it's
But
probably not as resource intensive where you are because you probably don't have to like water it.
I mean, but there's just
Like-
weeds everywhere. You got to
Yeah.
control like our grass has been like choked out by weeds essentially.
Would you consider doing something more?
Well, that's the thing is like, I'm like, what's the fucking point of grass? This would
Right.
actually be a fascinating podcast episode. But what is the issue to me is yes, and I've read a bunch of like Reddit boards and other things and even just neighborhood people where they're like, grass is super inefficient. It's bad for the environment.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Just do like native
a
plants.
bee pollinator garden is like that's the
Right.
like be all end all. The problem is it's my front yard. We actually play volleyball on it on like a regular
Yeah.
basis. And it's like all the people I know, there's some people in the neighborhood that have a like bee pollinator garden as their front yard. It kind of looks like it just doesn't look great.
Can I tell you though that when I see a lawn of like luscious, perfect grass, I turn my nose up a little bit. I'm like, oh, that was really wasteful that you did that.
Yeah.
Like that's
Okay. Well, then you would love my lawn.
I just think like when it looks so green and so perfect, I'm like, okay, that was so much water, that was so much time, that was probably so much
Yeah.
chemicals, and like, what is the point? But I hear you. If
Yeah.
you're
No.
using it for volleyball, that's fine. I always felt like I wanted to redo our front yard because we never used it. Like it's
Yeah.
literally just for people to walk by and look at. But the backyard, I was like, no, we need grass for the dogs.
See, I
I
would do like a
love to, like, run
wildflower
around.
garden in the backyard.
Yeah,
Our backyard basically is weeds and we're just like fine with it. But it is like, it actually is like an interesting financial related topic too, because it's this, what's the word? Not challenge. It's this struggle between like, well, I want my yard to like look nice like everybody else's.
Yeah,
But I don't like financially and for the environment, like it is a money pit and it is
Yeah.
not a good thing. And if I just want to play volleyball in my front yard, that's fine. It could just be like dirt and it could be the current weed state that it is now.
yeah,
But I'm like, but that doesn't look great. And I feel like a bad neighbor. But
yeah.
I also like, it's like caring about what you wear or something. You're like, well,
I think you
want
could do a whole episode about yards, kind of like
Yeah.
kids' sports. It's like this thing that you all spend money
Yeah.
on, and it's all the things that we talk about all the time. It's what do you actually value? What are you doing
Yeah.
because other people care? Are you, you're balancing like the environmental impact with what you want. It's got to prioritize in other places of your budget. It's always
Yeah.
more than you think. It's always, all of it costs more than you think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, do you want to know the cost of sod? I mean, I'm getting some formal estimates, but like, it's for a
Yeah.
3,000 square foot front yard. Just ballpark guess what sod's going to cost us.
Literally, I have no idea, but
Right.
3,000, like just, okay, how much does a sod cost for your front yard, which I have seen?
And installation and all that.
$2,000.
6 to 10,000. And then I'm like Googling places and I'm like, oh, artificial turf. I was like, that's kind of out there, like people don't typically
Yeah.
do it in their front. Greg was like, oh, we'll never resell this house with artificial turf. I was like, well, we're not trying to sell this house. Who cares?
Yeah.
But artificial turf is like 30 or 40 grand, maybe up to 60 grand based
Whoa.
on my research.
But then you never have to like take care of it again. So
Yeah, for like maybe 15 to 20. It's kind of like solar panels.
yeah.
It's like the right thing to do. The cost payout may not come for like 20 years though.
I would go
The ROI.
wildflower
I mean.
garden over fake turf
Yeah.
because also that's just like more plastic.
It is. And it's a whole, yeah. And
And
then
you
I'm
probably
also like,
can't-
what
you probably
happens when
can't get it,
dogs like,
secondhand?
you can't. And what happens when like dogs poop and pee in your like artificial turf and stuff?
I think it has drainage built into it.
It does, but it's also like, is there like poop stuck? Does it come off when when it rains? Does it?
I mean, it's just like
you know?
grass, right? I think the idea is like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know why I just picture like, yeah.
Well, let's not picture.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm going to have a little doggy bidet installed next to my artificial
my
turf. Okay.
Okay.
We are going to do an
45
episode.
minutes later, let's start the episode.
I would just like to note for records keeping sake, Liz,
Yes.
that we got on a call together 45 minutes ago and we are now
Yes.
going to start this episode.
Maybe.
Here we go.
We're doing it.